Us again. We are in chapter 9 or lesson 9. And we will start our reading Numbers 21. And Numbers 21, if someone could read for us Numbers 21 verses 10 through 20. Numbers 21, 10 through 20.
And the children of Israel set forward and pitched at Obah. And they journeyed from Obah and pitched at Ajeabarim in the wilderness which is before Moab toward the sunrise. From thence they removed and pitched in the valley of Zareth. From thence they removed and pitched on the other side of Arnon, which is in the wilderness that cometh out of the coast of the Amorites. For Arnon is the border of Moab, between Moab and the Amorites. Wherefore it is said in the book of the wars of the Lord, what he did in the Red Sea and in the brooks of Arnon, and at the stream of the brooks that goeth down to the dwelling of Ar, and lieth upon the border of Moab. And from thence they went to Beer, that is the well whereof the Lord spake unto Moses, gather the people together, and I will give them water. And Israel sang this song, Spring up, O well, sing ye unto it. The princes digged the well, and the nobles of the people digged it, by the direction of the lawgiver with their staves. And from the wilderness they went to Mattanah, and from Mattanah to Nahaliel, and from Nahaliel to Bamoth, and from Bamoth in the valley that is in the country of Moab to the top of Pisgah, which looked over Jeshimon.
Thanks. All right, last week we looked at questions 1 and 2. We don't need to go through the full list. Just recap though, what happened at Beer? What good thing happened at Beer?
God gave them the water.
Say it again.
God gives them the water.
Okay, God blessed them with the water. Then they kept transitioning therefore throughout to verse 20, Sister Kathy read, and they kept going from there. Now, when we have our next section, remember it's a contrast to what happened in chapter 20 with Edom. This time it was different. Someone read for us Numbers 21, verses 21 through 35. Numbers 21 through 35.
Israel sent messengers to say to Sihon, king of the Amorites, let us pass through your country. We will not turn aside into any field or vineyard or drink water from any well. We will travel along the king's highway until we have passed through your territory. But Sihon would not let Israel pass through his territory. He mustered his entire army and marched out into the desert against Israel. When he reached Jahaz, he fought with Israel. Israel, however, put him to the sword and took over his land from the Arnon to the Jebok, but only as far as the Ammonites, because their border was fortified. Israel captured all the cities of the Amorites and occupied them, including Heshbon and all its surrounding settlements. Heshbon was the city of Sihon, king of the Amorites, who had fought against the former king of Moab and had taken from him all his land as far as the Arnon. See how far we're going?
35.
Okay. So that is why the poets say, come to Heshbon and let it be rebuilt. Let Sihon cry. Let Sihon city be restored. Fire went out from Heshbon, a blaze from the city of Sihon. It consumed Ar of Moab, the citizens of Arnon's heights. Woe to you, O Moab! You are destroyed, O people of Chemosh. He has given us his sons as fugitives and his daughters as captives to Sihon, king of the Amorites. We go to the end of the chapter?
35.
Yep.
35. But we have over Heshbon is destroyed all the way to Dibon. We have demolished them as far as Nophrah, which extends to Medeba. So Israel settled in the land of the Amorites. After Moses had sent spies to Jazer, the Israelites captured its surrounding settlements and drove out the Amorites who were there. Then they turned and went up along the road toward Bashan. And Og, king of Bashan, and his whole army marched out to meet them in battle at Edrei. The Lord said to Moses, "Do not be afraid of him, for I have handed him over to you with his whole army and his land. Do to him what you did to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who reigned in Heshbon." So they struck him down together with his sons and his whole army, leaving them no survivors, and they took possession of his land.
Thanks. Question 3. What was the message Israel sent to Sihon, king of the Amorites? Verses starting in 21, but around 21 through 26. What was the message Israel sent?
Let them pass through.
Let them pass through, and where did they promise to pass through? Verse 22. Say it again.
Do not turn into
Pass through the country.
Stay on the road.
Onto the roads, right through the countryside, the king's highway, right? They won't turn into the fields or the vineyards. They won't drink any water of the wells, and they'll pass through the territory of the countryside, right? What was Sihon's response? The same as the king of Edom last chapter.
He said no.
They said no, and he gathered an army to fight against them, right? Question 5, what was the outcome of Israel's battle? Different scenario this time with what happened last chapter.
They had victory over them.
Okay, they had victory then, and they reached all the way to what fortified city? Verse 24. The border of where? The border of Ammon, because why? Ammon was fortified, verse 24, right? So they went as far as the people of Ammon, for the border of the people of Ammon was fortified. Okay, what was Heshbon? This is question number 6. Verse 26. The city of Sihon, the king of the Amorites, right? Main city here is what Heshbon is. Verse 26, who had fought against the former king of Moab and had taken all his land from his hand as far as Arnon, right? So this was a fortified, a stronghold city that was important. It may not have been fortified, but it was a stronghold city that was important. That it was a city of Sihon, right? Main city of Sihon. King of the Amorites had fought against the former king of Moab and had taken all his land from his hand as far as Arnon, right? So one thing to note is when you look at this time in biblical history in the Old Testament, you should cross-reference Western civilization history, and you wouldn't feel as bad for these people when God says go in and destroy. Because if you feel bad for the people of Heshbon, you're not thinking about the people of Moab, because the Moab people lost first, right? So if you're Moab people, you'd be happy about this outcome, because the people that overthrow you now got overthrown, right? So this is just looking at a violent time in our world history. You only have until modern times in the last 50 years where countries have decided on an international level to cease taking over land like this. This is very recent. Up until modern times, this is common practice, right? You see something, you take it. You only have modern times where countries have agreed to, hey, this isn't a civilized way of doing things anymore, and you still have issues with that today. But this is a concept that has moved all the way from the garden until modern times. Think about how many billions of people have lived in those time frames under those conditions. Okay, question 7. Give the borders of the territory of the Amorites, right? Let's look at this border situation. Let's start listing the borders. First of all, we know that it went again to what city? Starts with an A, verse 24. Ammon, right? Because that was fortified. So it went up into there. We know Heshbon is part of the territory because verse 26 said it. But what else? This is verses 27 through 30. This psalm or this proverb that the Israelites are writing. How are they mapping this out? Come to Heshbon, the city. Let it be built. Let the city of Sihon be repaired, right? So they want to repair the city. Verse 28, for fire went out from Heshbon, a flame from the city of Sihon, and consumed Ar of Moab. The Lord of the heights of the Arnon, woe to you, Moab, you have perished, O people of Chemosh. He has given his sons as fugitive and his daughters into captive to Sihon, king of Amorites. But we have shot at them. Heshbon has perished as far as where? Dibon, and then laid waste as far as Nophrah, which reaches to Medeba, right? Thus Israel dwelt in the land of the Amorites. Then Moses went to spy out Jazer, and they took its village and drove out the Amorites who were there. All right. Question 8. Who was Bashan? This is 33 through 35. Who was Bashan? King of where? So Og, king of Bashan. So Og is the king of Bashan, right?
Another city.
Right, which is another city. Thank you. And then the second half of 8 is, what did he do when the Israelites journeyed near his land? What did Og, the king of Bashan, do?
He went to battle too.
Okay, he went to battle too. This isn't like a time where you're gonna get scared, because you know if these people are moving across your region, they're coming regardless. So in this type of mentality, you strike first, right? You in the playground arguing. Some kids not for the back and forth, right? They just, you get close to them, they're gonna punch you in the face. Teacher say, why you hit them? I don't know. I thought they were gonna hit me, so I figure it's better to get the upper hand. So this king does this same thing, and he goes out and he tries to take battle with them. And then it's very interesting because in verse 34, what does God say to Moses? Don't be scared because of what?
He's delivered.
He's gonna deliver them to the hands and the people of the land, and do to them the same thing you did to Sihon, the king of the Amorites, who dwelled in Heshbon, right? So that's question 9. What reassurance did Israel have in their battle with Bashan? Is before the battle even started, God already said, all you got to do is go through the motion. The victory is already given to you, right? So therefore, they had inside information to be able to go through and have success and confidence to come out victorious on the other side. Question 10, what was the outcome of Israel's battle with the people of Bashan? Verse 35. They struck them down, they defeated them, they were successful, they defeated all the people until how many survivors were left? 0 survivors, and they took all the possession of the land, right? So that's the victorious chapter of Israel. Any questions on this? Lesson 9, this transition from Moses sinning and them losing some losing some battles and issues with the serpent situation last chapter to this 21 chapter of their success. Any comments or questions before we move on to the next one?
I don't have a comment necessarily regarding that, or a question regarding that, but I have a comment in that when you look at Israel's wealth and you look at from where God brought them from in the beginning, he was always preparing them to defeat and take, right? And so when you think about taking the wealth, taking the things they needed from Egypt when they first left Egypt, defeating these other countries and taking the wealth, he's always set them up where they were always going to have wealth. It wasn't like they had to go out and work for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have to go out. Like, he set them up. They were going to be wealthy regardless. And he made sure of that, because every place they defeated, he's like, go and take it. This is the thing I want you to take. You're going to take the wealth here. You're going to take the wealth here. You're going to take the wealth here. And it just shows how God continuously provided for them, just as he said he would. Just setting up just his kingdom, just from the beginning. And just how it just all plays out. Abraham, everything. I just think it's amazing how it was. It's like the Midas touch, everything God said that they were going to accomplish, they did. And that that wealth piece, I think is critical, because without it, they obviously would not be able to do the same. I just think it's astonishing how God does that.
Yeah, and also remember that as they're traveling through the wilderness, a generation is going to die, but the next generation is going to go forward. So these possessions are going to mean something. Sometimes God is blessing you for another generation, right? Sometimes God is taking care of a situation today for something in the future, even in the midst of your foolishness, right? Because they don't deserve any blessings right now, because they were the ones who were complaining that they can't take the land, right? So God could have said, okay, just go wander out in the wilderness, die off, and when the next generation comes, I'll bring them into the land of Canaan. But that wouldn't have worked because the next generation wouldn't have had the right relationship with God. So even through this generation's foolishness, God still had to intervene and bless so that they would be prepared. The other thing is these people who are slaves have to go in and take land. So therefore they have to become warriors, right? And they have to put their faith in God. There's things in life that you go through that seem like a negative that's preparing you for the next phase in your life. This is where parents do their children a huge disservice when they don't prepare them to the next stage. 20-year-olds acting like teenagers. Like teenage years is gone. It's not coming back. When you 30, 20 years is gone. Out of this new concept of something is the new something, no, it's not. 30 is still 30, 40 is still 40, 50 is still 50. When it's springtime, it doesn't matter if it snowed the day before, birds gonna come out, leaves gonna start budding, nature going. Nature don't care nothing about what TV tell it. Nature say it's summer, it's spring, it's fall, it's winter. Same thing with life. Wrinkles coming, whether what your mind tells you, oh, I think, I feel like, does not matter. So there's different stages of your life. Whatever you want to do is a child stage. When you get to an adult stage, there's very little in a 24 hours that you did that you wanted to do. Most of us go to jobs. We don't like those jobs. You just have to go. Most of us driving cars, that's not our favorite car. It wasn't our dream car, right? Most of us don't have on dream clothes. Hey, these were the shoes I always wanted, and I just saved up. And you doing what you have to do. But if you don't train that next generation to say, if we don't fight now, we'll never be prepared when God says it's time to fight, then that is the disservice that we do in the home and then we do in church. Because if you teach and preach, everything is roses, and nothing will ever bad happen to you. When people start going through trials and tribulations in their spiritual life, they will question, hey, how come nobody prepared me for when bad times came? This is why these things have to be reminded all the time, right? Perfect practice makes perfect. If you don't practice, how will you ever be game day ready? That's in life from a physical standpoint, a financial standpoint, an emotional standpoint, or a spiritual standpoint. How will you ever be game day ready? So that's what God is doing for them. Families should go back to that. Stop worrying about nonsense things. Most of things people be telling me that about, it does not matter. Worry about preparation for the next stage in your life. If you 30, you should be preparing for 40s. If you 40, you should be preparing for 50s. If you 50s, you should be preparing for 60s and so on. But if you living every day as if it doesn't matter and this is just how things are, you are not preparing your own self. Your own self, right? You're not even prepared for whatever the rest of the day has for you. You know how many people left the house yesterday thinking they would come back to the house, but now dead and gone? This is the life that we live in. Just because you turn a blind eye to something doesn't mean that it's going to stop. Just because you say, oh, I'm not ready for fall, don't mean that the earth going to say, okay, let's hold up and give them another week or two. It does not work like that. Things are in motion. And it doesn't matter if you're woke or asleep. This is how life works. It's better to be awake and alert and prepared. People who are prepared have a better transition from each stage of their life. There's a saying, victory loves preparation. Most people today are unprepared. Most people go into the world unprepared educationally and financially, completely unprepared. They don't know anything. How you balance a checkbook? What about debit and credit? What about lease versus owning? I don't know. Nobody told me. You will have a harder time making it in this world than someone who goes into the world with that knowledge base into society already a part of them, because now they know, oh, I can misstep from mistakes, sidestep, and go right down the path to success because I'm already prepared. That's why knowledge is power. So especially from we're in this city, from a city level, one of the main things that we should be grabbing young people is stop nonsense and come into education mode. I don't want to hear about basketball. I don't want to hear about music. I don't want to hear about baseball. I want to hear about your mind's eye. Because if your mind is not prepared and you have talent, people with no talent but hustle gonna devour you and just take your talent up. You have no money. You'll be on 30 for 30 on ESPN saying, oh, I had $100 million and some accountant took all of it. Not preparing your mind, the real you gonna exist after your talents are gone, right? Let's say sports, athletes. After your body physically can't do whatever you used to do, you still exist. You say, oh, I'm nothing without this thing. Well, if you're nothing without this thing, you're nothing, because life is about transition. Same thing with these people. They kept complaining, making it seem like they were nothing without structure and dominance. And God is saying, you're free now. They keep complaining about going back to slavery. Do you notice that? That's how people are. People come out of abusive situations, they want to go back because that's what they know. That's their version of reality. How ridiculous is this? These people were slaves. They keep complaining, can't we go back to being shackled? You was in jail 20 years and somebody say free, and every day you back in front of the penitentiary saying, hey, let me back in here. We do the same thing spiritually. That's why God said, when you saved and you go back into the world, it's as if a dog vomited on the floor and said, oh, I'm hungry. Let me eat that vomit back. It makes no sense. But this is how we as human beings operate on every one of the 4 levels of life that I break life down into: financially, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. This is why changing personalities is one of, if not the hardest thing in this world. If you're rude, you're gonna stay rude. You know why? Because you don't see anything wrong with being rude. Isn't that how addiction works? Until I realize that I'm doing something wrong, I don't care who tell me it's wrong. Isn't that how life works? So when you start talking about personality things in the church, to me, that's our biggest flaw. We love to talk about these quote unquote big sins. But most of us in here this week didn't kill somebody. But how many of us was unloving in this room? Oh, I don't want to talk about that. Why? Why don't you work on that? Why are you always talking about stealing? Most of us in here haven't stolen nothing in how long? Why are we going to sit up here talking about things that we don't do? That's not practice. See? They have to be prepared for things that they have to overcome. You cannot be victorious if you have a slave mentality. That's why God is saying, stop pretending to be slaves when you're free. God's saying the same thing to us. Stop being slaves to sin when you're free. Doesn't your New Testament say that? Instead, be a slave to what does it say? Righteousness. Why do you keep going back to a mindset of slavery when my son's blood freed you? But if we don't teach and preach that, how will we ever get to that point? We as a church body have to take these things and implement into our lives and say, hey, here are areas in my life that I need to get better on. If somebody presents those to you in constructive criticism, work on those things because they're for your own benefit. But most of us don't like constructive criticism, and therefore we go into life unprepared. Financial sector is key for that. Suburbs, though, from the time you go to preschool, are preparing their children for the real world. States take the resources from cities and give it to suburbs. Cities have more kids. Are they prepared for the real world? No. You want to know why? Because if more people were prepared, society would break. Don't you see that? If more people every year started going into the American workforce prepared, the workforce would break. You know why? Because it'd be less cashiers and more managers. And who would be the cashier now? This is why I say all the time, that's the meaning when the world say, oh, I don't understand. It's called systematic oppression, not random oppression. It's a system designed to oppress so that the haves are the least number of people in society and the have-nots are the most. If y'all as parents know that, open your mind. Tell your kids that. It's the disservice to be a Christian and down and out from not being prepared because your mind is open. This world is lost. How can you let a blind person tell you directions? How is that possible? That's why I say all the time, from a child's point of view, I always have that advice to Christian parents. Wake yourselves up. Stop worrying about foolishness. These things most parents I be hearing saying about their kids don't matter. Worry about your kids' spiritual well-being so that they can go out from you, because that's how life is designed, prepared. But if you got a grown child with a pamper on and you pass away, how will they take care of themselves? Is that not fact? Yes, it's facts. This is how life was designed to be. But we say, I know a better way. I want my kids to have what I didn't have, so therefore I'm not going to prepare my kid. I'm going to baby my kid because I didn't have love growing up. And therefore your kid goes out into the world unprepared. You know what society is saying? You know what Satan is saying? Yes, thanks. Another closed kid, blind. Come on, bring them out here. We'll devour them up. Look, same thing with churches. Are we preparing our young people spiritually? I understand you want to focus on these things, other aspects, but the world will take care of itself. The more you work in this world, the more money you have. You could have no education and work at 3 fast food places and do well for yourself. But you know what you can't do for yourself? Spiritual growth. How? You cannot make yourself stronger. You need help. So if I go out into the world unprepared as a spiritual being, the real Ellis, I will survive physically, right? But where will my real Ellis be? Lost. Lost. That's why spiritual growth matters the most, because it's better to be homeless but going to heaven than rich going to hell. But we have those things backwards. You know why? Parents, if y'all honest, you keep so in your mind saying, I want my kid to have what I didn't have. At what cost? Are you willing to not supply them with what they need, to give them with what you know want? You never was in a cheerleader, so now since a baby, your daughter got to be in cheerleader. Do they want to be in there or you want? Oh, I want. You ever watch those mom shows? No disrespect, but the moms be on the sideline out of shape, but the child can't have no cookie. I'm like, you obviously eating cookies, but the child can't eat a cookie. You know why? Because the mother is living vicariously through their child. God don't parent that way. God prepares them to be what they need to be. He does not try to live through them. He's trying to free them to say, stop pretending to be slaves when you are free now. That's the difference between the way God parents and the way most people in this world parent, or most congregations look at things. That's why education department in a congregation from the babies up is the most important thing, because without knowledge, you are powerless. And most people go every day into the world fighting Satan without any power. No power, completely powerless, and therefore they're trying to get a victory. The only way they had a victory was because God said, I'm with you this fight, you already are going to win. So if God is for you, who can be against you? The question you need to ask yourself every day when you leave the house, is God for me today? And you know how you answer that? Was I for God before I left the house? Because if you're not with God, God is saying it's not that I'm not with you, you're not with me. We're over here and you're way over there in harm's way. This is why we have to look at these things and say, hey, I gotta wake up. There's still some time left in the game. Don't check out. It could have been you weren't raised right. It could have been bad circumstances. It could have been financial struggles, physical struggles, emotional issues. But the real you, that's what we're talking about today. We spend a lot of time talking about health. You're going to get better and get sick again. We spend a lot of time talking about finances. You're going to be poor, rich, and poor again. Where is the real you prayer request? The real you, cancer cannot touch the real you. How many times are you asking God to help you be a better person? not physical. Lazarus died again. Stop letting physical things consume you. Here's a growth aspect. Financial things don't mean anything to God. Did you ever think about that? Oh, I lost my job. It's a trial or tribulation. Maybe not. Maybe other people lost their job too. God is saying your job doesn't matter. Why are you thinking that I'm in heaven worried about your spiritual nature and I'm going to take the job from you to do what? Oh, God's testing me. God's saying, so in heaven, where you going to go, I'm wasting time with dollars and cents, but I'm not focused on your spiritual well-being. Does that make sense to you? Or say, oh, I'm sick. God's testing me. God, again, you're going to get better and sick and better every single cycle. And I'm in heaven with nothing else to do but to be sitting up here zapping your red and white blood cells saying, oh, get better. No, get sick. It doesn't work that way. There's germs all around us. Sickness is going to come to saved and unsaved. It's better to be in hospice going to heaven than to be out at Edge Fitness going to hell. Where is the real you this morning? In this chapter, the real them was with God. The last chapter, even though God's physical presence was with them on that tabernacle, the real them couldn't be further away. Wake yourself up. Always come to a realization at some point in your life to be like, wait a minute, I'm unplugged. I'm not like everybody else. I know right from wrong. I know up from down, left and right. How is that dictating my everyday life decisions? Life, the real me, not what I see in the mirror, but the real me that's one day going to still exist on the other side of life. That's what you should be consumed with. Not nonsense. How many of us honestly can say last week in 7 days, we spent 50% of our time thinking about the real us? 25%, 10%, 1%. See? Because life is designed for you to never think about the real you. Most of us work at least 8 hours. There's only 24 hours in a day. Let's say you slept 8, you work 8. That's 16 hours. How many hours left in the day? 24 minus 16. What's 24 minus 16? 8 hours left. How many of us every day said, okay, I slept for 8, I worked for 8, the rest of the 8, I'm going to worry about the real me. Anyone in here spend that much time? No. You know why? Because it's designed so that you never think about you. That's why when you get people in a Bible study, it don't make sense to them, because when is the last time they thought about the real them? Some people may say never. I never sit up thinking about me as a spiritual being or where I go when I die. I'm just thinking about physical things, right? What I look like, healthy, unhealthy, money, no money, right? Clothed, unclothed, where I work, what I drive, who I interact with. Yeah, those things are fine. But what about the real you? That's the common denominator in all those things. People say, oh, I don't know. I don't really spend time like that. But let's go back to Exodus. How these people started was based off of that when God said, let's get one thing straight before we even get to the commandments. I am your God and you are my people. That's your identity. So when we come into New Testament form, and the Bible tells us in Romans what? You are able to have a relationship with God now where you can go to him as Abba Father and are now co-heirs with Christ. That's the real you, not black, white, male, female, rich, poor, right? That's the real you. Last 7 days, how many of us let that co-heir of Christ dictate the real us more than half of the 7 days? In thought, word, and deed. See? That's why it doesn't matter much if God is saying it. What matters more is, are you believing it? That's why I see people say, oh, it's no fear. Jesus came the way he did. How come he didn't just come every day at noon, bust through the closet? It doesn't. Jesus said to them in John, I already know where I came from. I'm trying to help you realize where you came from and where you're going. The teacher in school already knows the answer. He or she trying to help the students get the answer. How many people are willing to do the extra work to get the answer? Hardly any. That's why you get a small percentage of kids with A's and a much larger percentage of kids with C's and D's, because they're not taking what? Their own education seriously. When you go to your general physicians see how many patients a day, week, month, and a year. That's why you get a small percentage of population that's healthy and a much larger percentage of population that's not healthy, because they're not taking their own health serious. Is it any skin off the doctor's back if you healthy or not? Ain't no skin off my back. Do the doctor get paid based off how many people are healthy in their portfolio? No. Don't tell me about Obamacare. No, because they will write prescriptions all day because they're getting their money regardless. Matter of fact, the more sick you are, the better it is for the doctor, because you're going to keep coming in. And yes, I'm keep writing them prescriptions. Give them this, 10 milligrams, 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams. Now you used to see once a year. I need to see you every quarter. Look, it's designed that way to keep you shackled, slave. Financial. Hey, go out here on college campus. What are they waiting for? Here, plastic. Here, have a card. Do you have money? No, I don't have no money. Don't worry about money. You just swipe. You swipe and pay later. I might say, oh, that sounds good to me. So from 18, you are slave. Slave. Now you work for me now. I dictate where you go, what you wear, what kind of job you have, right? Look, slave. Because that credit gonna follow you the rest of your life. Design. That's why when you find people around you like conspiracy theorist people, grab them. You know why? Because they already open to possibility. Teach them Bible, because conspiracy people don't believe what they see anyway. They feel like everything is a lie. That's how you should be grabbing those kind of people, because this world is not real. It's not. It's not real. I was talking about this last night. Every city, let's look at cities when you start talking about structure. Every city, people who frequent the city know the street where prostitution is. In Atlanta, there's a specific street where male and female prostitutes are. No disrespect to the police community, but what you telling me about policing? I know where that street is. Am I a cop? Why y'all don't go over there and get those people off the street? I know where all the drug dealers are in Atlanta. I know in Bridgeport where drug dealers are. What are you talking about? Drugs. What are we talking about? War on drugs. You know where those people are. Oh, we got budget cuts. But you just say you was looking, you told me that this was the main issue, because when cities crime report, they're gonna say, look, this is why we got a tax, because we need more. Oh, what for we need more? How many you got right now? About 10,000, 5,000, 1,000. Child, 5 people. I can take 5 goons and clear a street out. 5 crazy people will clear an entire street. I don't need no thousands of people, because most people aren't as tough as they claim. So is it really that cities are trying to clean up where you live? No. Because if they really cared about where you live, they would fix your potholes on your street. But is your pothole still there? Yes. You know why? Because if they fix your pothole, that's less money for their pockets. But you got people more concerned with politics than their own spiritual well-being. People that's lying to them boldly every single day. And you got people sitting up willing to die for a lie, but won't live for the truth. That's where these people are. These people willing to go back, because if they went back to Egypt, they surely would die. Ain't nobody gonna say, okay, hey, come back in the bondage, you know, all is forgiven. We did a big thing. They're willing to die to go back to being a slave than to live and be free. First Peter saying, people rather die and go back to the corrupted thing from uncorruptible and go back into the world and be lost than to live free. See how important making sure you're practicing is, but we don't spend enough time. And it's not a congregational thing across the world. It's an individual thing. How much time are we taking? This morning, think about that. How much time, insert your name, I have or will take today, let's say, to worry about me being a better person. Me. As parents, if y'all are not better, your children are doomed. As husband and wife, if you're not better, your relationship is doomed. You know why? The other person gonna say, you know what, that's not working out. What you mean? What's the phrase? Outgrew each other. You thinking, I'm still the same height. What are you talking about? No, not like that. See, you doing A, but I'm already at Z. And the person saying, I don't understand. Yeah, I know, this is gonna be difficult. Okay, so like for example, I started here this date, and now we're here this date. Then the person say, in that time frame, I've done, and they'll start listing things. Then they'll say, now you tell me what you've done. And you say, oh, I haven't thought about it that way. The person say, already disconnecting. Because if you haven't thought about it, that means you haven't been trying to progress. And therefore, we can't be yoked together anymore. Because I'm going to want to go, and you're going to say, I'm tired. Can't we just, and a person say, now just don't work because I don't live off just. I'm trying to be better. This is how relationships could be 30, 40, 50 years. Say, oh, I'm out of here. You thinking from the outside, how that work? Because the person say the other person gave up, and I don't want to carry dead weight. This is facts. This is reality. You know, we know when we come together, we make up some cockamamie excuse, or we can't do it, or this, or what's the reconcilable differences? No, stop that. You looked at yourself one day and say, look, I got a lot of life left. This person is a bum. I don't want to carry this dead weight anymore. I'm out of here. See? Because the two not one no more. Because the other person say, I'm one. This person is way down the numerical line. It don't do me no good to be associated with this person anymore. That's how life works. That's what happens, because people want to say, I'm tired now. I want to be better. And in a relationship, on any level, physically, emotionally, financially, and definitely spiritually, if one person trying to be better and the other person is not, mark the days of when that relationship is gone. One person want to go to church, the other person don't. How many Sundays you think that's going to last? Sundays, don't tell me Wednesdays, Sundays. You know why? Because when you want to go to church, you don't want to hear nothing from somebody who don't want to go to church. Am I right in this room? And once you wake up and you singing hymns, the last thing you want is someone to bring your spirit down, right? Let's do the flip. When we don't want to go to church, the last thing we want is somebody singing hymns. Am I right? Yes, we say, I don't want to hear nothing about God this morning. Oh, you know, Jesus in the morning. I don't want to hear that. Come on, don't you want to go to church? I don't want to hear that. See? That's why 1 Corinthians saying, what in the world communion does light have with darkness? This is this generation of people. That's why God's saying 10 verses 2, what in the world kind of communion could light to have with darkness? Can't. That's why the darkness, God said, they got to perish away. And once the new generation comes, then I'll work with them. But this generation, God said, is lost already. Imagine them saying, I'm not lost. It's the same thing relationship why God said, man, we just outgrew each other. Person say, no. God said, yeah, because look, I'm saying, let's go take the land. You saying, I can't do it. And God said, I don't understand, can't. I don't live like that. So if you believe that you can't do it even with me, we are not equally yoked anymore. So our relationship is broken. No, it's not. Remember, they said, I'm going to go take the land anyway. Remember? God said, okay, go, fine, try. What happened to those people? Dead. Then they came back and was upset and then said, Moses and Aaron killed godly people. God said, first of all, I killed those people. But second of all, they were not godly because they decided to do things on their own accord and they put themselves in harm's way. That's the story of the Israelites. Before we say God is so harsh, Old Testament God, New Testament God, ain't no difference. God is the same. God is the same God. He trying to wake us up in the same way he tried to wake these people up. Be better for yourselves because one day you got to face me. I'm only preparing you to face me. Some of us have done a great job compartmentalizing our life. And God is saying that one door you have locked, is gonna burst wide open one day and you have to face me. Don't you rather want to open that door now? Some of us say no. God say, all right, come up here unprepared and see what's gonna happen to you. Come up here unprepared. Down there, you could be unprepared and blow your way through life. But up here, there are no do-overs. See the difference between God and us? God is showing them, look, there are no do-overs because these people, as they go from city to city, are ready to fight. So God is saying, if me and you aren't on the same page, it's going to be detrimental to your own physical well-being. That's why you got to come fight with me. Be ready. Same thing. God might be saying, man, this evening going to be tough for some of y'all. Wake up ready to worship. The only way to get to Monday is if you come ready to worship. And some people sleep. And God said, man, they about to be lost in 2-3 hours. Man, I tried to get them up. Won't get up. God said, you sure you don't want to get up? No, I'm tired. You sure you don't want to get up? No, I'm sleepy. I said, okay. What Jesus say about going to Jerusalem? Oh, I got to bury my father. I got to worry about this business. Honey, by the time you come back, we're gone. We already at Jerusalem. That's what God is saying to some of us. Wake yourself up. You are going into your day unprepared because me and you are not on the same page. That's why worship is so important, because if God let us live the rest of our week out, look at the benefit we have over the world if we start our day today worshiping in spirit and in truth and maintain that high throughout the week. That's what we should look at from a lesson like this, because we spend a lot of time looking at their failure, but now they have a chapter and a lesson of victory. But what was the difference between the failure and the victory? It was only their spiritual relationship with God. It wasn't that they were stronger or the people that they were fighting was weaker. It was that God was locked arm in arm with them, and they were locked arm in arm with God. And God said, don't be afraid. This victory is already yours. When you consult God in your life, and God said, thanks for asking. No, you shouldn't go left. You should go right. Everyone else is right. You are going left, then you have success. We go left and say, God, was this the right turn? God say, too late. We already was right. You didn't ask me. You asked me after you already made a decision. So today, as long as today is today, as you go through your worship service, put your mind's eye in the forefront of your consciousness this morning to think, hey, am I the best version of me? Are there areas of my life that I can be better in? Are there things about me that I know that God can, willing and able to work on so that I would have more peace, love, joy, etc. in my life? The answer is yes to each and every one of them. So what am I doing about it? And how serious am I taking my own spiritual well-being? Ask yourself that throughout today, while you're singing and praying and listening to the sermon. If God allows you to go home, am I being the best version of me that I can be? Spend some time this week as we go into next week thinking about that, because next week, when we move into this Balak and Balaam, if your mind's eye is not ready, like these people's mind's eye not going to be ready, they're going to fall in through chaos, because 2 lessons away from where we are right now, the title is Israel's idolatry, because they did not prepare. Some of us right now may have a lot of success in any aspect of our life, physically, spiritually, emotionally, or financially. And God is saying, man, this blessing about to be a curse. In 3 months, this is about to curse you. And I'm giving you 3 months to get it ready. 12 Saturdays to get it right, and you're going to blow all 12 of them. Think about that. That God is ahead of us saying, man, there's some things. Or on the flip side, wow, you having a tough time right now. This May was tough. Man, in 12, you hang in for 12 Saturdays. Wow, I got an amazing blessing for you. 12, can you hang in for 12 Saturdays for the rest of year 2017 to be fantastic? Some people are going to tell God, nope. And some people are going to say, yes, I can. And they're going to have success. Because some people are going to leave and focus on their mind's eye, the real them. And some people are going to go on with the motion and say, oh, this Bible study don't make no sense to me. That's the difference. That's why that double-edged sword is going to come divide spirit and soul. Jesus said what? When I come through the house, it's going to be mother versus daughter, father versus son, maybe husband versus wife. You know why? Some people gonna believe, and some people not. No matter their DNA, no matter their last name, God can say some people gonna be with me, and some people gonna be with Satan in their own home. Because some people gonna buy into this concept, message of the cross, 1 Corinthians, power to those that believe. And some people not. Message of the cross, foolishness to those that don't believe. 1 Corinthians. That's why the choice is yours this morning. You want to be better or not? A lot of complaining this world do. Do you want to be better? Oh yeah, I want to be better. Are you willing to put in the work to be better? That's what most people say. Nah, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not. Some people going to put in the work this week, and next week going to be a better version of themselves if we live and Jesus doesn't return. And some people next Sunday going to be worse. Worse. Even though we all read the same story of what it took for them to have success, some people going to buy into it and some people not. Which side of the coin will you be? That's the question for you, and only you can answer that. All right, we're out of time. Let's go to God in prayer. We'll have a transition into our worship service, and then we will move on from our Bible study. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful and blessed day. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to go to you in prayer. Thanking you for your word. We know that the world and all that we know was founded in the foundations of the word. We know that in the beginning was the word was with you, and the word was you. So we're thankful for the opportunity every time to be able to open up the word of God and be able to digest it. We ask for discernment, wisdom, knowledge, and power through the understanding of the word. Apply it to our individual lives. Give us the self-control to be able to see right and wrong, but to choose right. We ask that you be with those as they're traveling to be able to worship this morning. We are hoping that we are able to worship in spirit and in truth, and all things be done according to thy will. It's in Jesus' name that we pray these things. Amen. All right, thank you for all of our Bible readers and all of those who had comments.